Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and Rhett. We just got done with a pretty long 3JS one, basically finishing up my unit tests. I don't think Rhett has made a peep in the last 25 minutes, and then the minute the video started up again, she decided it was time. I don't know if basically we're working on this, trying to understand the native WebKit speech recognition API that comes with a browser on Windows. You might have the API, I think, works very consistently between probably all the different platforms, but you might have slightly different results or whatever. But we're doing 4 tabs, and there's kind of 2 flavors of the voice WebKit speech recognition. There's discrete and continuous. And we initially built out like a logging system, and then we got discrete working. So like discrete works like this. Hello world. Now, I don't know, I must have selected something or done something, but sometimes you have to, there's like a pop-up and you have to say that. But see how it figured out that I said hello world, and it thought that there was like 4 possible things, and I think these other ones are sort of weirdly gibberishy. Um, it's like hello world is right, and 90. It gave the same value to all of them, but it added this, and this is something that I've noticed I've only seen this happen in English, um, but and then like one of the features that I have is that you can select different languages to try, and so we played around with those. But now the next tab is, oh, and so you see we have logs, and so these are the logs of all the events that happened. um, and so this piece I believe is done. It might needs a little bit more. So this is the actual result, and these are the actual results. um, so that's pretty neat, and it's useful, and there's probably a lot of cool applications you can build with it. um, the next one thing we're working on is the API. So this is basically, I'm confident that the API is going to change, and when it does change, I would like that. Probably the main reason this tool exists is as a way to sort of, okay, my browser's changed, things are broken, what's going on here, and that's what this tool is designed to be for. And so this part here is going to be basically a list of all the properties that are on the API object, and it will also have a list of the ones that we expect, and it will note the ones, if there's something we're expecting and it's not there, it will note there, and if there's something new that we weren't expecting, it'll note those as well. And so we are working diligently on that. So basically what we have is this, and this is actually going to be our actual properties. This property map prop. And so basically what happens is, um, we send this get all properties. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is the thing, is we said we when the application first comes on, gets running, if it finds recognition, it'll get a list of the existing properties, and it'll get all properties. And so if we go to get all properties, which is where we were just at, it'll kind of do this deep dive within the object itself, and then all the objects that it inherited from. And that's how, and it'll return a string. I mean, an array of strings that are all the properties. So then the next thing we want to do is, okay, so I'm just going to hit Alt and left, and that'll take me back to where I was at. Um, this set property map. So basically, we're going to send in the array of properties to this, and we want to create a property map. So, and the property map is this guy up here, which is a string and a string. And actually, I think this should be a string and an any, because it could be a function, it could be anything. Just whatever the property is, and that's what we want to have. And I believe what's happening over here is we are JSON we're doing like a JSON pipe on this to do that. Now I suspect once we start actually putting actual properties in here, this will break. And this will break because some of those objects will have references back to itself, and those references that will cause, you can't really turn those into a string, so if you're like let's say I had an attribute which is my child, and my child has an attribute which is their parent, right? So you're like, oh, okay, I want to make a string of that. Well, the problem is the thing that points back to me is going to then point back to my kid, which then is going to point back to me and create a infinite loop, right? So I suspect we'll run into some of those. But let's just try it. Sometimes I expect that and it doesn't happen. Now, I don't think that, well, we aren't going to do this JSON thing, and we shouldn't do that because in the future something might get added that does that, and that will break the tool. So we don't want the tool to get broken. But for now, what we're going to do is we are actually going to add in the set property map, instead of putting description coming soon, we're going to put this dot, and I believe recognition is the name of it, and prop. Property prop, yeah, prop. So basically it's iterating over there and it's naming it's going over each one, and then it's going to run this function and it's going to name for every individual property. Like it has a list of names, property names, and then for every one of them, it's going to name it prop. So we could name it property name. And just say that the key of this property map is the actual property name, and the value is the actual property. Now, I think that we're looking at about a 90% chance that when I hit save, this over here is going to break. But I could be wrong. Oh, it did not break. So I was wrong. And it's kind of funny because I feel like 5 years ago, it was probably 100% chance. Like everything always had a property back to itself. And then it went away, and so I still have that. And that's like I don't know if you've ever heard this word, but it's vestigial. A vestigial thing is something that's still around that's no longer to be around. So I have this like vestigial fear that everything's going to have things. Now what's odd though is that I felt like there was more things before, but maybe they were just long. Maybe it was just because it was long. So I'm going to say true. Like, doesn't it seem like see, it's weird because like these are just gone when I actually threw the property name in there, right? Like defined getter is just gone. Like, where'd it go? Why is it gone? I wonder if we have an error in the console. See, there should be 41 things, and this is not 41 things. Right? That's weird, right? That's really strange. What if I say toString? I don't know. It's just a wild idea. Oh yeah, that went bad. See, this is the thing I was talking about. Circular dependency. See, oh, so maybe that JSON thing is like behind the scenes. It's getting rid of it. So that is interesting. So let's do this. Let's go back to just putting it in there. And then right after we call the set property, we're going to ask. We're going to console log out the property. Console.log. Start. I can't. Property. I think it is property map, right? That's what we update down here. Yeah. Property map. Yeah. So we're going to console log property map, and we're going to just see, because maybe that is like something they did to improve the. Okay, so there are. See, I don't like it. This dot properties. So I don't know which one this is, because here we're doing properties. Map, and I don't think we need this other one anymore, anyways. So yeah, so it looks like all of these do exist, but for some reason, like it's not showing them all. Like it's not showing dispatch event. So those are the actual properties. And I'm a bit of a loss right now. So I'm going to say property map dot keys. Can I do that? It's like, you can't do keys, you crazy.
You ready?
So this is, let's see, for each. And what I want to do now is just create our, I guess that's silly. Okay, I don't know exactly what to do with property map. We obviously can't show it the way we want it, but I think we need it that way. And I think but properties, what we have right now for our properties is what we want. This is our list of expected properties. But our expected properties need to be sort of hard-coded, right? Like expected properties. And I'm just going to call that a string. And I'm going to equals, and for now, just for this very moment, we're going to do this. But do I save? Okay, so this doesn't end up becoming that. So let's just console log our properties again, which we literally just got rid of. And property map is not doing anything for us now at the moment. Properties. Now, we are close, Rhett. You're right, though. We've been going at this for a long time. Okay, so this is that, and we actually want it to be, see, this is called a set now. So do I need to like, can I do like this? I wonder if I can say array. So there's JavaScript offers a object called array. And then in that, I believe, I thought it had like a to array. Let's do this. See, I don't even search chat Google. It's so rare for me to search Google anymore for any technical help. Because like, watch this. Like, let's go to Google, and maybe they've improved, but oh, here's Google. How do I convert a set to an array? Like, do I need this shit? Do I really? And then like they don't show the whole thing, and then like over here, and then it's just like I don't need that. I don't need all that. And then yeah, did I really need that pop up? It's oh, that's kind of cool though. This is nice. Array. See, didn't I try to do that? Oh, I tried to make it to array. Console log array dot from. Okay, so that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. Let's see, inspect. Let's go here. Okay, so these are that is my array. Those are my expected. Where is it? There it is. Those are my expected properties. I expect these properties to be there. Now, I don't know. This kind of stinks how wide that is. So I think I'm just going to make it like this. Up in here. But this is everything that in April 26th, 2025 was on the it's so funny because I don't know what that when does. I wonder. Okay. So everything looked pretty familiar to me, except for this one. And I don't know if this is new or if this has been. Okay. Okay. In the browser API, what does when do? Let's try that. Searching. Event related callback. The browser API specify condition of time and under which a piece of code will be executed. This is a fundamental concept in event handling. Okay, let's try the same question for ChatGPT. So when I quit, so it seemed like that. I don't know. I don't now. Oh, I meant the browser. I meant the browser voice API. So I feel like the answer was actually a little better than. Okay, so it's under the speech synthesis, which I haven't been doing any speech synthesis. So yeah, no, this was way better because while this was like technically accurate, it didn't in browser APIs. I feel like this led me down the path a little, was a little bit like it just got me confused. I couldn't quite understand what it was saying, and the reason it got me confused is because my question was a stupid question. And so then it kind of gave me the best answer it could. This I think was a little bit better in that it was like there isn't a built-in. Your question makes no sense. I think was a this is a very polite way of saying, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. But but here's what I can do, and I felt like that was a little better than what Google gave me. I don't know, just opinion. I'm not sure. But it is good to know that that is the reason I don't know about that is because of speech synthesis, and speech synthesis is where it can talk to you, which I think would also be incredibly useful. But early on, when I was trying to get speech synthesis working, I could not get it to work. So I think, well, you know what? I don't think that's very useful. So let's see if I can, instead of that, let's go ahead and have it JSON write my expected. So API, let's change that from property map to expected proper. There we go. And then, so my API is actually going to be okay. So actually, okay, fine. I went a little crazy, guys. I went a little crazy. Expected properties. Which is a string, an array of strings, and we will initialize it to nothing. And in our constructor, expected property should already exist. And it is this dot speech service dot expected properties. And then instead of man, I don't know why I forgot the word for what this is called when you and then I wonder if I yeah, so I don't really like that. So I do want to do a for loop over my expected properties. Guess I'll put them all in a div. And then, is it like ng? I don't think you need that anymore though, I think. So I think they're in discrete. I must do, I'm hoping in discrete I do like, I don't, it's not ng4 anymore. Result, yeah, at4. Something along these lines. And I think that each one of them should property. So we could track the index, which is the ID, and this would give us an ID. So I guess what we could do is we could be like div. And I hated this. Like when it first came out, because somehow I had gotten in my head, because in JSP and early .NET sorts of solutions and all that, we had like code, like scriptlets inside of code, and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And then Angular kind of came out, and some other things came out where they like everything in the template looked like HTML, and it was so much better. And then they really went hog wild on that. And then we got to where I think the attempt to keep everything looking like HTML led to like NG4 and all that, which was nice. I mean, it was super nice, but I think this is a little better because it sort of forced the creation of like DOM elements when you didn't need DOM elements and stuff. So then they kind of like added like I think it was like NG content or something like that, so that you don't have to have DOM elements, and it just I think this is actually better. And I didn't like it at first, but I do. But I do now. And I guess we should just, you know what, just for old school purposes, table. Let's use a table. I can't believe how many young developers I meet that are like, what's a table? And it was just kind of like, tables were just absolutely like the core of design in the 1990s. Like all designs were all based on tables because they could be reliable in the way they position things. And then like it went crazy on this anti-table, like, oh, we can't have tables and all that. And then like I literally meet people today and be like, I've never heard of a table. I thought that was like a special third party kind of thing. Sorry, TD. So it's going to make a row and 2 data cells, I think is what TD stands for. And one of them is going to be the index. And then the other one is going to be the property. Let's see if that works. And so what that did was, let's do it the other way around. Let's swap. So if we did divs, right? Something like that. Then these ones wouldn't be all lined up. Like this guy's one, like, so let's say instead we did like, which, I mean, this is fully reasonable thing to do. I mean, there's nothing, I'm not being critical of it. I just think whenever you're creating tabular data, you should use tables. Unless and you can get around it. Like if there was a place where they're like, I don't want to, we never use tables, which I haven't literally heard anyone say that in years. But see how like they're not all lined up now. But with the tables, they are. So, then we could be like, we could do this. We go TR and then TH And we could say property th index. And so then we get like a little that, but we probably do want these to be the other way around. And tables are generally easier to read, at least for me, when they're in that sort of layout like that. When they're formatted like that, just, the computer doesn't care, but, and then we'll just take this. Property. And so these are our expected. Yeah, so basically now that we have this and we saved it in the code, we will always expect these. Now, I don't know why they aren't sorted. And I think that is easy to do. So let's go ahead and take care of that. I don't know what the sorting, I believe all we have to do is this. And it'll sort it, probably alphabetical order would be my guess. Yeah, so now they're in alphabetical order, which I think makes a little bit more sense. So basically the idea is that every one of these, like today, if we were to run this, it would say, oh, okay, I expected to find these 40 things and they're all there and they're all green. Now let's say we move this to locale string. We remove that. Then what I want to see is 39 with the green and then the to locale number 37, this guy right here with the yellow next to it, because it's like, I don't recognize that. That's something that has appeared. And then let's say that there's like, let's say it can't find lang. And it's just like, I thought that we should have a lang, but it's not there. And so lang will be there, but it'll have a red next to it. And I guess instead of this number here, that's what I'll put is the status. And those statuses are here. These are expected and found, expected and not found, and not expected. I think if I mouse over this, no, maybe. No. Sometimes when there's certain conditions, like think if I just like literally copy this out and put it down here, yeah, I can mouse over and it'll show me what the color is. So that is that. And so yeah, we're moving right along. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have our maybe we'll have another array of found properties. I don't know, do we even need what the values are? Probably not. We probably don't need what the values are. We just need to know that it was gone. So yeah, I guess we'll have another string called found properties, which is everything. And then I guess we'll write some code that compares everything, determining whether does some sort of string comparison between the two to determine if there's something in one of them that's not in the other ones, and then assigns the proper color. And I guess that'll be an array with these colors: expected and found, expected not found, not expected, and the name and the property. I guess that's all I need, and then this API is done. So hopefully we can get most of the way done with that tomorrow. And when that is done, then we can move over to continuous. And continuous is, I remember playing around with it in that other version I did that was not Angular last year. I built a voice thing, and it was not Angular. And in that one, we did continuous, and continuous is much, much more complicated. Continuous is like, like the user controls in this situation when you can record, and then it listens, and then once it's done listening, it turns itself off. Continuous, it never turns itself off, and it's constantly reordering things. um, so I think continuous would be something that you might use if you are like doing an inventory or something. So you'd be like, so like here you could be like red, blue, red, and then you could be like keeping text, but like you'd have it on your phone, and you'd just be like hitting the no hitting the button every time and saying red, blue, red, and and obviously the code could automatically sum things up for you, whatever, tell you how many reds, how many blues, things like that, But in continuous, you hit the button once and then you say red, blue, red, and then you hit the button when you want to stop it. So one of them, that's the difference between discrete and continuous. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works. And then when that's done, I plan to build an actual working application that does something, and I really don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be right. I think what would be really fun is like an application that lets you say hello in like 100 different languages. Like I don't know how many locales there's voice support for, but I think it is like 100, 200, something like that. So that would be really cool. Like, so you could say hello in whatever language. Like, I wonder what language they speak in Malta. I'm fascinated by the country of Malta. I would love to go to Malta. I don't ever foresee me going to Malta. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to go there. And the biggest reason I would love to go there is because I hear they have an amazing language, which is a hybrid language that knows how to, that in which anyone who can speak Italian, Arabic, or English can get by and get around, which is just, it would be an amazing thing to actually see. We have lots of languages here in the United States. We really do. But we don't have any sort of system for people with different languages to be able to interact with each other. Like, like when I walk my dogs to the park, I I mean, at least 3 or 4 times a week, I will run into somebody who speaks Spanish. They don't speak English, and we cannot communicate. Period. No matter how hard we try, we can't communicate. And we both want to communicate. We all want to communicate, but we can't. But in Malta, somehow they've managed. What language do they speak in Malta? They've managed to create a hybrid language that apparently allows people with different Maltese. Yeah, so so they have two languages, Maltese and English, and Arabic, and then Italian, Sicilian, and English. And I used to really spend a lot of time listening to calypso music from Malta. I really enjoy listening to that. And their commercials are just amazing because I'll hear like all kinds of different languages and I understand what they're saying. Now, what's really funny about their calypso music in Malta is it's like I've literally never heard a single calypso song on their calypso radio station, which is hilarious. But anyway, so we are close. We're getting real close to having this API done. And anyways, I hope everyone's having a great time and has a wonderful day. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.